my kindergarten dolphins. We're going to work on some math. So today we're going to be starting a new part of our module. We are all done with measurements, so we're on to a new topic. And today we're going to begin that topic looking at something brand new. Now we're going to hear some words in our objective that we might not understand yet, but don't worry. We're going to begin with going over some vocabulary, some words we're not sure about, okay? So we'll begin with our objective. I'll start and you repeat. Objective is what we are going to learn. Our objective today says, I can estimate area. Now those are two words that you probably don't know yet, but don't worry, we're going to go over them in just a minute. Today we're going to be using our number bond mat. We won't actually be using it to make number bonds though, but don't worry, I'll explain that part when we get to it. We're also going to need some different types of materials today. These are my recommendations. I want to see some different kind of small counters. You can use your red and yellow counters, maybe some dried beans like we were using with capacity, maybe some mini erasers that I've given you before. Anything kind of small that could fit into the circles on your number bond mat, okay? So go ahead, grab some different materials right now, and we'll begin with vocabulary. All right, so let's go over those new words that we talked about. Our first word, estimate. To estimate is to make an educated guess. Now, when I say educated guess, I mean one that makes sense. So when we talk about estimating, we're talking about guessing maybe an amount. So if I said, I'm going to put a few things in my cup here. My cup's not very big. Let's estimate how many items I put into my cup. Now, my cup isn't very big. Would it make sense to say there are 1,000,000 things in my cup? No, it wouldn't make sense. That is not an educated guess. That doesn't make sense. But I could estimate that there might be about 5 things in my cup. That would make a little bit more sense. Let's see. Now I'm going to check. Oh, I had 3 different things in my cup. I had a tennis ball, I had my koala, and I had some tape. So 5 was a more educated estimate. It was a better estimate than 1,000,000. Does that make sense? So when we estimate, we're kind of making a guess before we actually count and check. But we don't want to make a guess that doesn't make any sense at all. We want to make a good guess. Our next word, area. We've definitely heard that word before, but we might not have heard it in the math context. We might not have used it in math before. To find area is to find how many things can fit inside. Wait a second. Miss O, that sounds like capacity. I know it does. It does sound like when we talked about capacity. When we talked about capacity, we wanted to know how much something can hold. But we were looking at things that were 3-dimensional. Like I would see how much rice I could put inside of this cup. When we talk about area, we're talking about flat things. Remember when we looked at shapes and we had shapes that were flat, that if you put them on a table, you couldn't see them, they couldn't stand up by themselves? And then we talked about things that were 3-dimensional, that were 3D, that could actually see, or you could hold on to, or that would stand up by themselves. When we talk about area, we're thinking about flat things. We're not thinking about things that you could actually put something inside. I could look at the area of this piece of paper. That means that I would want to see how many things I could fit onto this piece of paper. Like if I were to draw a square, how many squares could I draw on this piece of paper? That's what we mean by area. So today we're going to be estimating area. We're going to be making educated guesses about how much could fit onto something. All right, so let's get started. So first, I kind of want to show you what I mean by this. Like I just showed you, we can find area of like a piece of paper because that is flat. Now I've got a drawing of a piece of paper on the board here, and I want to know how many circles I can fit onto my paper. See, I have my red and yellow counters here. That was one of the materials you could get for today. Now I want to know how many of those circles can fit onto my paper. I'm going to make an estimate. Well, I can see that the circles are not very big. If I were to kind of measure, they're about this tall, and if I put that on my paper, much space. So let's make an educated guess. Let's estimate how many circles do you think could fit on the paper? Well, I know that it's probably more than like 10. I think it's going to be a bigger number than 10 because here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here's 10 of them. This many only takes up like that much of my square. So I think it's going to be more like maybe 50? Maybe 50? Definitely not 100. It's going to be smaller than 100, but it's going to be bigger than 10 or 20. So I'm going to guess, I'm going to make an estimate of 50. And I'm going to write that right here. Now, an estimate is just a guess. I want to actually find out the area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my paper with these circles and count how many can fit. Now, when I fill, if I have a circle that fits like this, like it's half on, half off, do you think I should count that one? No. We want to fill the paper with circles, and we want them to be not necessarily touching each other or on top of one another, like that. And we don't want them to be kind of off of the paper either. So I'll show you what it will look like when I fill my paper. Okay, so I filled up my whole page with circles. And when I counted them all, I had 56. So was my estimate too small or too big? I guessed 50, but I can actually fit 56. My estimate was too small. 56 is a bigger number than 50. So now I'm going to write in my box that I actually had 56 circles on my page. So look at how my circles, they're not like touching one another. They're not off the page. They fit nicely and they filled 56 circles onto my paper. So we took an estimate and then we found the actual area by putting all the circles on here and seeing how many could fit. So the area of this paper, how many we could fit on it, is 56. Let's do another example. This time I'm going to try some dried beans on my paper. Now, one thing that I notice is the beans, they're a bit bigger than my circles. So if they're bigger, am I going to fit more of them or less of them on my page? Kind of a tough question. They're going to take up more space. So I won't be able to put as many of them on. So last time I guessed that I could put 50 circles on because they weren't quite as big, so I had more room to put them on. But my beans are bigger. I'm going to guess that I can only put, they're pretty big. I'm going to guess that I can only fit 10. I'm going to estimate that I can put 10 beans onto my paper. That is my estimate. Now let's try it out and see what I can fit on here. Okay, so my estimate was 10, but I actually fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I actually fit 20 beans. So was my estimate too big or too small? I guessed 10, but I actually could fit 20. My estimate was too small, so I actually ended up putting 20 beans on my page. I have 20 beans on my page. Do you see what we're doing? We're estimating and then we're trying to find the area. So our area now with beans is 20. Now I'm going to show you how you're going to practice this using your number bond mat. Okay, so at home, what I want you to do is try out some estimating and finding the area with your number bond mat, okay? So I put some examples of what you could use, but what you're going to do is you're going to take a material, you're going to estimate how many of it you could fit into one of your circles, and then you're going to actually try and find the area, and then write down how many you filled. So here, it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars in my circle here. I would have probably guessed I could fit more. So my estimate might have been higher, but when I actually put my stars in, my little star erasers, I found that 5 could fit. Now you could also use your counters, you could use beans, but try out each circle. You have 3 circles on your number bond mat, and they are all the same size. But I want you to try 3 different materials. So maybe you use your erasers in one, you use pennies or quarters in another, you use beans or macaronis or pasta noodles. Use different size materials and try and find how many of those materials can fit in each circle. So for example, I found that 5 erasers fit in my top circle, but maybe when I try my counters, there's going to be less of them that fit in the circle because they're bigger than the erasers. But maybe my beans are smaller, so I'll be able to fit more beans in a circle. Then next to each one, I want to write the area. So my area in my top circle with erasers was 5 erasers. The area of this circle was 5 erasers. But maybe with the counters, it'll only be 3. So then if I only could fit 3, instead of writing 5, I would write 3. And then maybe I could fit 10 beans. So then I would write 10. Do you see what we're doing? Make sure you make an estimate first, and then actually find the area with different materials. And to turn in your homework, what I want you to do is take a picture of your mat with your 3 circles filled with the area written next to the circle, and I want it to be different materials in each circle. Again, I would use maybe your mini erasers, your yellow and red counters, your maybe like macaronis or dried beans. You could use coins like pennies or quarters or dimes. Any of those things would work. See how many you can fit into your different circles on your number bond mat. All right, if you need help, of course you can come to homework help. You can write me a message, but I think that you guys are going to be able to do this and do a great job with it. I was so impressed with our measurement tests and how we did with that whole unit. I think you guys are going to do awesome with this. All right, kindergartners, good luck. I'll check in with you later.